On today's Minute of the Apes, I have now asked 6 boring questions, and I propose to ask a 7th. Who showered this morning?
Nope.
Nope.
I don't shower in the mornings. I take a bath at night.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
Welcome to the Divine Bomb.
The only good human is a dead human! Where there is fire, there is smoke.
The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast. We break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time, and the cat's out of the bag. We don't shower before we come on this and record. So I'm sorry, we're stinky boys this morning. Wow, that got nothing.
As far as I know, I smell fresh as a daisy.
Yeah, that's right. Sean can't smell anything.
That is true. Richard, when you proposed that little tease off the top, the funny thing is last week you shared out a picture of us all podcasting together, and unbeknownst to you, my Batman shirt is actually my sleep shirt. And so my lovely daughter said, "Oh, Richard shared you in your PJs."
Well, do you wear the exact same Batman shirt, or is it just a sleep shirt?
It's one of them. I'm not real picky
have a
about that kind
rotation?
of thing. I'll wear one for a couple of nights. I don't care. Now, my wife is one of those that wears new PJs every night. Has to have fresh sheets all the time.
So here's how my drawer is divided. I have a drawer of comic book and zoo shirts, which are what I wear typically during the day. I have a drawer of CrossFit shirts that I wear to CrossFit and will sometimes wear during the day. And then I have a drawer that is nighttime bed shirts. It's stuff that I just don't care about. What's really, it's really tragic. If they're like, something were to happen in the middle of the night, we had to run outside because of a fire truck, I'd be wearing the most ridiculous looking shirt from some random event that's probably got some stains on it that I've been sleeping in for like 10 years.
The weird thing is I am, without question, a nerd. I mean, if you guys have been in this room where I'm recording, if I flip the camera around, you can see my wall full of nerd crap mixed in with all my musical instruments. I am a nerd through and through, but I don't wear nerd shirts in public. I just never have. I don't want to walk out and have a Batman shirt on. I don't know why that is. I would rather wear like a nice polo or something like that. So I don't wear those kind of things in public. If the house is burning down,
You're
might
an
see
undercover geek.
I am an undercover geek.
Shame.
I embrace my geekness. I don't like wearing all that stuff in public. I don't know why. It is what it is.
I own a comic book shop, so it's kind of expected.
Yeah.
If I'm wearing a nice polo, people think something's happened.
But I think that's exactly it. When I walk into your store, I kind of expect that of you.
Yeah.
Whenever I go to work, no one really expects me to walk in wearing a Bob Kane Batman shirt. It doesn't happen.
Hawaiian shirt.
Never. Absolutely not. Ever, 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 ever. Period.
Sean wears nerd shirts all the time. That's all Sean's wardrobe is.
Pretty much.
Okay, but Sean, you also embrace that you're a walking nerd.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's my nerd shirt right now. Richard, can you tell what this is?
He's in swag 24/7. Yeah, that's Brock Sampson.
There you go.
Oh, well, that's what I'm wearing. Look what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my...
you're wearing a Venture Brothers shirt, too.
Yeah, my Venture Brothers Club shirt, too.
Well,
Team Venture.
I'll be the closeted geek then, and I'm wearing a
technically,
Dallas Cowboy shirt.
We're not even talking about apes right now.
You're a nerd too, Todd. You're just a sports nerd in that case.
I am a very big sports nerd
person.
I will wear my Dallas Cowboy shirt and things like that. I don't know why I've always been that way. I don't know. I just don't wear Batman. I love Batman. I love Star Wars. I love a lot of other things. I just don't wear that crap in public. And with that, let's move on to minute 22 of Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Oh my God. My goodness.
Sean, tell us what's going on in minute 22.
Not that anybody asked, but I sleep naked. All right, we start minute 22 with we start minute 22 with Mandemus asking what Caesar wants, and ends with Mandemus about to ask a 7th boring question.
Let's listen to minute 22 and trying to push the image of Sean sleeping naked from our minds.
What?
Revel in it. Bask in it. Marinate in it.
What does Caesar want? Weapons. For what purpose?
For self-protection in the pursuit of knowledge.
Self-protection against whom or what?
We don't know.
Well, then what is the point of protecting yourself against a danger of which you have no knowledge in pursuit of a knowledge you do not possess?
Oh, God.
Is it a knowledge for good or evil?
All knowledge is for good. Only the use to which you put it can be good or evil.
Well put.
Thank you.
The sun is rising. I should like to get this matter settled before it sets.
Caesar has appointed me not only as the keeper of this armory, but as the keeper of his own conscience. That is why I have asked 6 boring questions, and now propose to ask a 7th before issuing or not issuing the weapons you require.
As of Minute 22, we got a village worth of apes and humans.
Well, so that did nothing to erase the image of Sean sleeping naked from my mind, because that moment starts a cycle of that. I think that all the Apes films can do is ape on the Hassline moment of the artist painting the artist, painting the artist. It felt like that. It is just nonsensical garbage talk.
Yeah, you're right. So one of the things I don't know, I kind of wonder about us getting into is we're getting into the when I saw this, to me it was getting into the kind of gun rights issue.
Okay.
I was looking at this from the perspective of they want guns, but they want guns in the pursuit of knowledge. Knowledge can be good or evil. So it felt like an argument for gun rights to me in a weird sort of way, but that's just because what's something we're dealing with in kind of the modern era.
Well, and I found that the argument of what do you want them for knowledge? No, you don't. You want them for protection in the pursuit of knowledge.
And why are they being so
protective of the guns? Yeah.
Right.
Of what they're going.
Like the lesson of knowledge is for good, only to which you put it can be good or evil is a wonderful little kind of play. And again, for this idea, if we're talking to kids, this would be really, really interesting kind of conversation back and forth. But the fact that they're being hidden about their motive for the guns is suspect. And I don't understand why they're being hidden at this moment.
Or maybe they knew that they're going to be asked 7 questions, and so if they go to the answer right at the beginning, then they'll have 6 more questions that they still have to answer that get increasingly harder. So they start with the easy questions first, and then they.
It is the "thou shalt not pass" kind of moment, right, where you have to ask a question to kind of move on.
The riddle of the Sphinx.
Riddle, exactly, yeah. Well, and I counted the questions. There are 6 if you include who's there.
I was about to ask that. I thought I am so upset with myself that I didn't stop, rewind, and say, are there 6 questions?
There are 6 questions. Okay. He asks, who's there? Mm-hmm. What does Caesar want? For what purpose? Self-protection against whom or what? In the pursuit of a knowledge you do not possess? ? Is it knowledge for good or evil?
Okay, the problem I have with all this, once again, it's just like the scene with Cornelius and Caesar. It doesn't provide anything other than a base level conversation. Yes, he's asked these questions, but each one, instead of just being this, should dig deeper into the folklore or the reason why, number one, that they have all the weapons locked up. Why do they have weapons locked up and they have someone who is the guard of deciding whether you can get them or not? Yes, it seems like when you have a guard, it all but tells you we don't want people just walking around with guns. But that needs to be said. It needs to be, and so, it needs to be Caesar appointed me the keeper of this armory so that we would not have weapons in the hands of those. It needs to be something like that. And there's nothing.
Maybe Mandemus is just bored. He's making this shit up as he goes along. So, he used to just let people have guns. And then he started asking 1 question. And he started asking 2 questions. And he's just bored. He's just killing time.
Yeah. Again, had we set up this character to be kind of the cranky old guy that just kind of wants attention and needs this kind of interaction, this would be a really, really funny scene. There's something to be said about the fact that the 2 orangutans are the one kind of talking back and forth at this moment. Like they're kind of outsmarting each other. Yeah. There's a potential in the display of the two questions back and forth that we're showing that they're smarter than everybody else. That would be kind of fun if that were their goal.
But if you were doing that and you've already had McDonald kind of talking about Virgil and almost how frustrating he can be, shouldn't he have turned to Caesar and said, this is going to go on all night if you don't step in? Because they're back and forth. They go at each other, their intellects. There's no play to that. I've always found the moment to be one of those where it's like, oh my God, this scene is just almost not necessary.
I mean, you kind of want Caesar just right off the bat, who wants it? What do you want? A gun. Why? Because I'm motherfucking Caesar. That's why. Give me a gun.
Caesar stepping forward. He could have, I almost called him Macadamia. Mandemus, it's Caesar. And he's like, and then acknowledge that Caesar's there with him. That, it feels like there should be at least that, hey, the boss is here, but there's no.
Well, and that was it. He says Caesar appointed me not only as keeper of the armory, but as keeper of his conscience. And I'm like sitting there thinking, can he not see that Caesar is right there?
Right.
He should. It would be better framed if you were looking directly at Caesar in a moment where you could see him saying, "You appointed me this, and
you asked for
so
this.
You need to tell me why." And because they're still kind of outside, we don't get that kind of direct like. Caesar appointed me this as he's talking to Caesar. I mean, I like the idea of him addressing Caesar without addressing him. Yeah. But we're not in that line of sight where we look like he knows that Caesar is even there.
You almost kind of wish that the framing of it could have been more back and forth through that window. Then initially maybe he only saw Virgil and McDonald, and then Caesar stepped into the shot, the light hit his face, and that's when any kind of subtlety to that.
Yeah, then he could say, I have a seventh question.
Right.
Just something to kind of cut that, like, I see Caesar's here now. All right, well, then I have one more very serious question. I mean, I didn't mind the back and forth. I thought there was kind of this switch from they want weapons, and it switches to an argument about knowledge. To me, it played like a gun's rights. What's the point of a gun? Well, a gun can be good or evil.
Right.
They switch it to knowledge, but that's how it felt. That's how it read to me.
A gun is neutral. It's what you use it for is good or evil. Yeah.
Well, apparently knowledge is all good, but you can also use it poorly.
So it makes you wonder, Mandemus says that Caesar appointed him to be the conscience of the king. It makes you wonder if at some point Caesar was making decisions that he couldn't believe he was making, or he didn't want to make anymore because something bad had happened. So he just said, all right, now, whenever I come to you, you've got to challenge me because of what happened last time. I'm not going to let that happen again.
Yeah, and I think that I was sitting here thinking through Conquest when we see them break into the armory and steal the weapon. So the idea of an armory is not a new concept.
Yeah.
But I think for it to work here, to Sean's point, you need to have that acknowledgement, even if it's just something that just says there's a bit of history. You appointed me so that what happened before would never happen again.
Never happens again,
And then I assure you it won't happen. That's not what's happening. And even McDonald could be like, what happened? Maybe he doesn't know. Somebody, you could play that, but there's no level of that. Instead, and so that we don't just beat this one particular thing to a pulp, I also want to bring up Mandemus's makeup is perhaps the worst principal ape makeup ever. It literally looks like
very lip flappy.
Yeah, well, it literally looks like somebody took a 70s era emo Phillips wig, just bangs with this, and it just hangs down. And then they did not color his eye sockets to match the prosthetic that goes beneath it. And it's just, I can barely look at it because it's so obvious that it's just kind of crappy looking.
How can you see all that? It's so dark. They lit the scene with candles, and even in the next minute, I'm like, I can't even see what anything is in there. And maybe they were thinking they could cheat his makeup by being so dark in the moment because
I think often that whenever something is, the color timing that happens. So when you shoot something, you very rarely take the actual exposure and look of it. And that's what's put in the film. When we get to the Snyder Cut, that's one of the things I don't know if you've seen online is how Joss Whedon had it color timed and how Snyder had it color timed. They're two very different looks.
Very different movie, yeah.
I think that the color timing in this may have been what actually hurts it. I'm sure that on set the makeup looked fine, but whatever they're doing with the way the light kicks, you can just see completely around his eyes that it's entirely different.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that the truth is, at the end of this moment, if I'm Caesar, I'm reaching through